Hello everybody, my name is Rhiannon Lambert and I'm here today to cook for you all my Re-Nourish Mexican Muffins. Now, it is Sleep Awareness Month today, so if any of you have any questions throughout this cook-along, because I'll try and make it as simple as possible, drop them below and you could be in with a chance to win a copy of my book, which is where we're making this lovely recipe from. So the mini Mexican muffins, it can be a snack, it can be a lunch item, breakfast, on the go, whatever you prefer. And you could win a hamper full of Holland and Barrett goodies promoting sleep. Now, sleep is something that I think is very, very overlooked in today's society. It is crucial for your overall health, longevity, aging, weight maintenance. It's linked to a reduced risk of illness, so we need to be focused on our sleep. But now, on to the recipe. So what you will need today, guys: peppers, red peppers. However, any vegetable you guys have at home in the fridge is totally okay. So mushrooms, courgette, aubergine, you name it, whatever you've got, get it out your fridge now and we're gonna chop it. So I've pre-chopped some peppers here for you and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the pan. Now, I love to cook with olive oil. This is one of the things that I think people are a little bit nervous about today, is which oil do I cook with? There's a lot of stuff going around at the moment. Is it coconut oil, hemp oil, I don't know, rapeseed oil? You've probably heard of them all. However, the studies with the most research suggest that olive oil is the heart-healthy oil that you guys are gonna need. So we're gonna heat the pan very slowly there, chuck our peppers in. You can use as much or as little as you want. I'm going to slice some more here for you. Now, another thing to remember when you're making your food, you need to kind of be organized. So even if you have some leftover roasted vegetables at home, that's a really, really good way, guys, of using up your veggies and getting lots of your fiber. I think there's even a stat today that the average Brit gets around 17 or 18 grams of fiber, whereas actually we need 30 grams a day. And that is going to come from the rainbow of food you should all be eating. So we're going to make our peppers here. We're going to let them heat slowly. And then towards the end, we're going to add a sprinkle of heart-healthy seeds. So we've got our sunflower seeds and our pumpkin seeds here, and some chia seeds. The seeds are a really, really good source of fats, guys, not to mention zinc, which is something that's also very important for sleep. So any questions that are coming throughout this that you have that are related to nutrition, you can chuck them underneath here, whilst I keep an eye on the peppers roasting away. Now, you will also need, in this recipe, some self-raising flour, but you can use any flour you want, guys. There's so many different types out there now that are suitable. You can get the gluten-free flours. You could try making this with anything else that you guys like. Just going to turn the heat down there. You will also need today some milk. So we're going to use milk and eggs to obviously bind and make our muffins. I love the taste of plant-based milk. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. But the thing to remember is, if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, often it's really, really important to make sure you are getting fortified milk. So you want some extra stuff there. Maybe make sure it's unsweetened, like this soya milk is that we're using today. So you need 200 milliliters of milk, 1 egg, self-raising flour, seeds, salt, pepper, a little bit of paprika, your vegetables, and then you've got your muffins. So these are looking really good now. And then I'm going to add for you the seeds. Now the thing is, when you're roasting seeds, I had this terrible experience once. I was on this retreat in France and I was helping out in the kitchen. So I was there for this gorgeous week-long relaxation break and the lady there was like, oh, just chuck some seeds in, can you roast them for the guests? And then you can sprinkle them over these kind of canapes that we had. I made the mistake of not watching these like a hawk. If you are adding some extra seeds to your food, they cook really, really quickly. So keep an eye on them, keep it moving in the pan. I'm adding some pumpkin seeds there for you and some sunflower seeds as well. Now this is really simple. So this recipe should really only take around, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes if you've prepped everything in advance. I'm also going to be using some cheese today, guys, to add a little bit of extra flavor, and then perhaps adding a little bit of butter at the end as well. But of course, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can now get so many amazing different types of cheeses. You can get I think it's Vigo Life and Holland and Barrett stock loads of different options for you guys that you can use in their stores. So lots of different options. As you can see, that is smelling amazing. I love roasted vegetables. They are some of my favorite things. So I'm going to take the heat off now, let these cook by themselves, just simmer away. Whilst that's happening, you're going to get your bowl ready, and you're going to add the rest of your ingredients. So you want your milk, your flour, first of all, to mix together. Just going to create some room here, and your egg. So in fact, I'm going to get a bigger bowl, I think, for this one. So I think this one's going to be perfect. So we can add our flour into the bowl. We can then add 1 egg. Now, I was doing a cook-along with one of my friends, Danielle Pisa, recently, and she showed me, I'm going to do this for you, Danielle, if you're watching, how to break an egg in a different way, because I used to bang it on the side of the bowl. This is when it all goes horribly wrong if I don't get this right. But she did this, and then she'd just crack it open on top, which isn't working for me. Oh yeah, look. See, so much easier. Because I used to do it and leave shell everywhere, and then I'd have a big puddle down the edge of the bowl. But it worked perfectly, so we can mix together. Look at that. So your seeds and your peppers, for those of you at home, should be done now, nicely. And you want to add your milk and your egg and your flour to the bowl. There you go. And of course, remember, if you want to drop any questions as we go along, you can drop them underneath. And I've got 15 minutes of cooking time with this, guys, afterwards for you to add. Now, your mixture is going to be very thick and doughy. So don't forget that it's got to be almost like you're making bread. So I don't know if any of you have made bread at home, but you really want a nice thick consistency there with your whisk. So let's get that going. And now, once we've kind of mixed in all of the flour there into the bowl, let me just get a spoon and make sure we're getting all of that out. You want to season it. So depending how strong you like the taste of your muffins, that depends how much cheese you're going to put in, okay? So I'm going to grate into this bowl about 20 grams, roughly, of cheese. I'm also going to add a pinch of pepper there. Now, if you like spice, don't forget, you can also add some chili flakes. You can get creative here, guys, and really mix it up and add anything that you like into your recipe. Pinch of salt and a pinch of paprika. I like to kind of get hands-on when I'm in the kitchen. So at home, if you don't want to get your fingers dirty, you can use a teaspoon. That's totally okay. I'm one of those where I kind of chuck it all in the bowl, but you can definitely measure that out anyway. So we're going to mix that in and then get our cheese ready. Now, I'm a big fan of cheese. This is a vegetarian recipe, and cheese is also a very good source of protein and calcium. But remember, there are lots of vegan options out there too. So I'm going to grate this cheese straight into our bowl. And we're doing about 20 grams, which I would say is about half the size, like a matchbox size, which is a portion. I think with cheese, it's very easy for... It tastes so good, and we definitely want to overdo it, I think, sometimes. You've got to be very careful with your portion sizes. I would say that's probably around half the block of cheese there, which is all you need. Okay, let's make this into a nice thick consistency there. I also kind of joke, you know, as a kid when you used to do baking in the kitchen, this is like the arm workout bit. This is my gym workout of the day when I'm making my muffins. Okay, so you can see all the ingredients there have gone nicely into the bowl. You're now going to fold in your peppers. So we've got our nice cooked peppers here. And like I said, this is something you can take with you on the go. It doesn't just have to be a breakfast item or a lunch item. It's a really good lunchbox filler as well. and you've got all those healthy omega-3s. And I think being a vegetarian, sometimes it's really difficult because you're not getting your oily fish in if you don't eat fish. You want to be making sure that you're getting enough of the right nutrition and adding healthy fats to your diet. It's so important. Things like avocado, nuts, seeds. And talking of Sleep Awareness Month as well, I think a few people, I don't know how much nutrition you guys may know out there, but even including things that contain tryptophan, which is a very important protein for sleep in your diet, will be really beneficial. And that's found in walnuts. And calcium is a good source in almonds and magnesium. And these are all components that are going to help you guys at home sleep really well. So once you've got your mixture here, you can see I've folded the peppers in there. So we've got some air getting into the mixture to help it rise. It is self-raising flour, so it will rise well in the oven. But this is when the fun bit starts. So we've got our cupcake holders. Obviously, we're not making cakes, but they work really nicely. So I'm going to put this to one side. Let me just make some room here. And we are going to get out one of my favorite pieces of equipment at home, the baking tray with the cupcake holders. So we are making 12, guys, today. 12 egg muffins. There's for everybody on set today. Remember, this is your last chance to add some more spice. If you guys like spice, you can add a lot more if you like. Maybe a bit more paprika, however strong you like the taste of your muffins. So 3, 6, 9, 12. We are making 12 portions today. This is also quite a good family option as well. I think getting kids to eat more vegetables is a really important thing, and it's something I'm really, really passionate about. And getting people cooking, getting your kids in the kitchen, it's a really good idea because you can hide things in here. It looks like a mini muffin, but you guys can put, I don't know, mushrooms or, dare I say it, a bit of broccoli or kale in these muffins. So let's put this in, not forgetting a tiny bit of coriander because I love adding as much as I possibly can, a little bit of natural herbs in there. The more nutrition you can get, the better in your food. So let's chuck that in. It's also quite nice for decoration. So you know if you've got anyone coming over the house and you need to make your food look good or spruce it up a little bit, get one of those in your kitchen. I don't actually have a garden because I live in a flat in London, and I swear by having my row of my herbs and plants by the window in my kitchen so I can make anything look that little bit nicer. Okay, so we're going to divide this up now, guys, in your trays. So if you're with me at home, this is very, very easy. You do have, check it's thick. If the mixture is a little bit too runny, it probably won't rise in the way that you need it to rise. So be very careful there. I'm going to use a teaspoon to assist me, and we're going to put a little bit in. There you go. So we're just going to pop that in the bottom of the case, just as you would with a cake mixture. Honestly, it's that easy. You're just going to leave that in, and in a minute we can make it look nice. And then we're going to pop it in the oven for about 15 minutes, which I've already preheated for those of you at home to about 180 degrees Celsius. So if you've got my book, you've got Re-Nourish, you'll know that all my recipes are so quick and simple. This has taken no time at all. And in fact, if I probably wasn't chatting away when I was doing it, I'd be Speedy Gonzales in the kitchen. I would have had this nailed. So make sure, maybe you just slice some veggies, keep them in your fridge at all times. I think there's a big movement now towards more vegetarian and plant-based options in terms of the land and realm of nutrition. And it's for very good reason too, because there's so much research now that suggests that having a plant-based diet or incorporating more vegetables into your diet, which I think we all know really at heart, is the key to long-term health and longevity. And if you're looking at different countries like, I don't know, Japan or Italy, you know, the Mediterranean diet versus the Asian diet, they're some of the healthiest nations in the world, and they have a lot of fiber and a lot of plant-rich foods in their diet. And of course, I'm not saying you have to go vegetarian or vegan. I actually don't believe in labeling food choices. I think you can be whatever you guys want to be. It's just making sure that you are the healthiest versions of you that you can possibly be. And that's where I come in as a nutritionist. It's what I do in my clinic in Harley Street. I'm constantly trying to make sure that I work with my clients to make sure their diets work for them. I think we forget that we're all unique human beings and we all require something different. So comparing yourself to others on social media or looking at what someone else is eating may not be the most beneficial thing for you. You've got to love the food you eat, guys, and enjoying food is a basic human right, in my opinion. Don't know if you all agree with me there, but I hope so. So we're nearly there now. I'm just going to put the last scrapings in here. Maybe when you're making them at home, you can chop the peppers as small or as thick as you like, if you like diced peppers rather than long, thin strands like I've done here. You can do that. And do be generous. There's no point having a bowl to lick here, guys, because it's not a sweet mixture like when you were a kid with a cake. With fairy cakes, I used to always lick the bowl. You don't want to be licking this bowl because it's a savoury, cheesy pepper mix, unless that floats your boat, but it might give you a little bit of a dodgy stomach. So, yeah, try and scrape everything you possibly can out of the bottom of this bowl. Right, I'm nearly there, getting in there now, scraping all of that up. Okay, so we are going to put these muffins in the oven now for about 15 minutes, I would say. I'm just going to check that they're all nicely in the tin. Kind of give them a little bit of a smooth over to make sure you get that nice appearance afterwards. And then to serve it when they come out, I'll show you what we do there, where we're taking some questions for the Q&A. Because it's obviously Sleep Awareness Month, guys, like I was saying before. So any questions related to sleep or general nutrition, you can pop them below to be in with a chance to win. I just want to add a little bit more to this sorry looking one on the left here, because I think it could do with a little bit more filling. Waste not, want not. Okay, and we can pop these in the oven. So I'm going to put these in for around 15 minutes, guys. So this one's going to go in here. There we go. Into the top. And just check, obviously it's set to 180 degrees. That's just 15 minutes in the oven. I'm going to set a timer here. I'm going to ask one of the crew to set a timer for 15 minutes because I could talk forever now. I need to keep an eye on the time. Okay, so whilst I clear up a little bit, do we have any questions out there? Any nutrition related questions that I can answer?
We do. So we have one from Lizzie Gawthorpe, and Lizzie says, hi, what's good to eat before bed as I'm hungry when I try to sleep?
Oh, that's a really good question, Lizzie. So what to eat before bed? First of all, it's the time before bed. So what you find is when you eat a meal, you may get a little bit hot or you feel your temperature rising. So to sleep well, your body temperature needs to drop a little bit. So make sure you have a little bit of time before you go to bed. So it's not just about being full and having a really full stomach and feeling really uncomfortable. It's actually so much more than that. You want the body temperature to drop. So I would suggest having a meal that comprises of kind of complex carbohydrates, maybe a small handful, a good bit of protein, because the key to good sleep is when you combine protein with a carbohydrate together. And that's what creates in your brain this amazing neurotransmitter. So it's called serotonin, which is your happy hormone. And serotonin converts to melatonin, all these words, but basically melatonin regulates your circadian rhythms, which is why you want to sleep well, you need protein, you need carbs together, and maybe 3 hours before you go to bed, if you can. I know we're all busy.
Okay, so next question. We've got a question from Sophie Mitchell. Actually, it's just some praise from Sophie Mitchell. So she says, I love this woman. I met her at the Houses of Parliament and she's so down to earth. Her positivity is addictive.
Ah, amazing. Hi. No, I remember, I think that was, I was at the Houses of Parliament for the BEAT conference. So I do a lot of work supporting people with eating disorders. So nice to see you, Soph. Thanks for saying hi.
So we do actually have another question now from Maria Bood, and she asks, what are your 3 go-to ingredients to always have in the kitchen?
Oh, this is a really tricky one. I love my food, as you guys that maybe follow me. I'm Rhitrition on Instagram, for those of you that don't know. If you follow me, you'll know I'm a big advocate of oats. I'm addicted to porridge. I swear, porridge, I could have it. This is why I've made savoury recipes in Re-Nourish. I'll see if I can find it quickly, because oats are one of my favourite recipes in the world. I make like a poached egg pesto kind of porridge. Yeah, see? I've got my porridge 4 ways page. So that's oats, and then eggs. You could do so much with eggs. I think they're one of the most versatile ingredients in the world. And don't forget that you should not be missing out on the yolk. So the yolk is where you get all the vitamin D, you get the zinc. If you can hear a car alarm there in the background, if you guys, typical London. So I love my eggs, I love my oats, and frozen berries. Honestly, I am so busy that if I buy some delicious fresh fruit, it's nearly always gone off in the fridge by the time I actually get a chance to get to it. So don't be scared of frozen foods, because you will find that the frozen fruits retain a lot more nutrition often than the ones that you find on the shop shelves. So don't be scared of buying frozen bags. They last longer, retain the nutrition. So oats, eggs, berries. That was a good question.
Okay, great. So we've got another question from Samantha Bolter. And Samantha asks, when is the best time to stop eating to get a comfortable night's sleep?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question, Samantha, again. So like I said before, you want your body temperature to drop and you don't want to feel too full. Remember also that breathing plays a big role in this as well. So I would say it depends on your lifestyle. You are a complete and utter unique human being. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, maybe you need to finish eating realistically by maybe 7 o'clock if you can. But equally, if you go to bed at 11, you can push that a little bit later to maybe 8 o'clock. It really does depend on you, but try and have a 3-hour roughly or 2-hour gap before you go to bed in an ideal world.
Okay, fab. So we've got another question from Daisy. And Daisy asks, would you recommend pre-making your food and portions ready for the next few days?
Oh, definitely. I'm the biggest fan of meal prep ever. I think roasted vegetables, I know I harped on about it when I was making these muffins, but roasted vegetables are such an easy thing to prep on a Sunday. You just chop a load of veg, chuck it in a tray with your olive oil, 40 minutes, and then you keep it in an airtight container for maybe 2 to 3 days, and you can keep topping that up on different meals. I think getting organized, maybe try planning your meals. This is what I do in Re-Nourish. I've got a 7-day meal menu. So it's not a plan that's specific, but something you can dip in and out of. Make a chart and try and have a meat-free Monday if you can. I think that's really good to incorporate, and plan your meals in advance. That way you won't be over-shopping or overspending in the supermarket, because I think it's so easy nowadays to go into a supermarket and literally find that you're spending way more than you intended because you found so many amazing items of food on the shop shelves. So yeah, getting organized, biggest tip I could ever say in terms of cost and efficiency. Yeah, that's a good question.
We've had a lovely comment from Rhiannon Lambert, who says, very well presented, top marks to Rhiannon, Holland and Barrett for making it so easy to follow.
Thank you, Nigel. That's great. Thank you.
And we have a further question from Louise Lumsden, who says, what herb would you suggest instead of fresh coriander, please? She's not too much of a fan of coriander.
I have a lot of friends that don't like coriander as well. It's one of those things, it's not quite like Marmite where you love or hate it, but coriander is a very hit and miss. I love adding things like rosemary or thyme to meals. I mean, they're quite strong tastes again. So oregano actually probably would go better with the mix of spices, especially with things like paprika. Or if you don't want to make these muffins Mexican style, why not try an Italian style thing? So put your oregano on, almost like you're making a kind of mini pizza muffin. I do a pizza omelette, and you could make it with oregano, and you could chuck some mozzarella in it instead of cheddar cheese, and bingo, you've got Italian muffins. Yeah.
Question from Laura Tannenbaum, who says, does chocolate really contain caffeine, and would it be better to avoid this at night to help you sleep better?
Oh, Laura, I really feel you. I am the biggest chocolate eater in the world. I love my chocolate. Unfortunately, chocolate, or fortunately actually, does contain caffeine, but it depends on the cocoa percentage. So ideally, in terms of any supposed benefits of chocolate, it's about 75% plus with the cocoa percentage. But if you're having it before bed, if you are having that really dark stuff because you think you're being really healthy, the chances are there's a lot more caffeine in there, and it might be keeping you up at night. I actually had several clients, quite well-known people, I'm sure, I won't name drop them now, but they had the biggest Lindt chocolate addiction, and I mean that 85% bar, the really tasty one. I think it even had added like, you know, the sea salt chocolate? That kept her up. So yes, there is caffeine in that chocolate.
So we've got a bit of a funny question here from Jane Knowles, who says, is there a healthy food to combat snoring, please?
Oh, Jane, God, if I knew the answer to that, I would be a millionaire. My father, who I think is actually watching, I don't want to embarrass him too much. He is a terrible snorer. I mean, the whole house literally shakes when he snores. I wish there were a magic food that I could give the nation to save all of us women, no offense if it's the woman snoring, but often it tends to be the guy, doesn't it, that are kept up every single evening by that snoring. All I can say is maybe exercise may help, not a food, because I know of your cardiovascular system, you want to keep things moving, you want to keep blood flow going, that may be beneficial. Being a healthy weight may also help. If you're overweight, you may be more prone to blocked airways and you may be more prone to snoring. For instance, things like sleep apnea and conditions people have. But there's no miracle food, Jane. I'm so sorry. I wish there was.
Great, so we've got another question here from Jackie Graham.
Okay.
So Jackie says, I've heard that lettuce has natural sleep-inducing properties. What other stuffs can I try to relax my body and mind?
Oh, so good. Now, there's so much research out there when it comes to foods that induce sleep. I think it's a subject that's fascinated humans for a very long time. I mean, you'll have heard of all the old wives' tales with whole have a glass of milk before you go to bed or cheese or something, but there's actually some benefits in that because milk contains a lot of calcium, and calcium does play a role in helping the production of melatonin, which is what I discussed earlier. I think having a little bit of carbohydrate, like maybe a small bowl of porridge or something before you go to bed, or an oat drink, an oat smoothie, dissolvable oats, that's wonderful because you're getting carbohydrate and tryptophan, so you want this amino acid. And to let you guys know, amino acids, they are the building blocks of protein. Every single one makes a shape. You need to have tryptophan, which is found in things like walnuts, turkey, some Greek yogurts. They're the things that are going to help induce sleep. And I'm a big fan of a herbal tea as well. I think things like calcium and even links with magnesium. So magnesium relaxes your muscles, guys. And if you are very stressed and uptight, you're less likely to switch off. So this isn't a food actually, but I tend to use Epsom salts a lot in my bathtub. And I think that's something that can really help with sleep because it relaxes your whole body and your muscles. It can prevent any cramping. Yeah, I think that's a good little list to give a go. But remember, carbs and protein are key. I'm just going to quickly check on my muffins, guys, very, very quickly while we're going in. Yeah, they're rising nicely. Okay, so we have 5 minutes more of questions. We're going to see how many I can get through.
We do have some more questions. So I've got one here from Alyssa Sheldon. She says, can you eat oats if you're a celiac? She also has put here that she loves frozen berries.
Ah, yeah, woo, big up the frozen berry crew. You can, but I've got to be careful when I say this. Oats are naturally gluten-free. It's the factory that they're produced in that means you have to label them gluten-free. So actually, if you are a celiac, I would try this very, very carefully. And it depends on the type of oat as to how easy they are to break down, because you can get those whole organic jumbo oats or the rolled variety, or the ones that you would get in a porridge mix or something that's ground down a little bit. So it depends on your digestive system. So remember, maybe it's safer for you to stick to gluten-free oats, even though naturally, potentially, they may not be as catastrophically dire for you as a celiac as once thought.
Okay, so I've got an exam-based question here from Samantha Bolton.
An exam? Mm-hmm. Oh, Samantha, I hope I know.
She says, with exam time coming around, are there any foods recommended for helping with concentration?
Ooh. Well, first of all, Samantha, good luck. I don't know what exams you're doing, but fingers crossed for you. I remember that period of time in my life, and I still study every year, so technically I still have it, but so well. The nerves are horrendous. There is some research, but no miracle, my love. So things like blueberries, they were looked at extensively in terms of concentration, and there's a massive link between omega-3 for your brain health, for your cognition, and your overall well-being and sense of concentration. So perhaps try and get, if you like salmon, try some oily fish in your diet. Maybe 2 portions a week is what the government recommends as a kind of healthy amount, maybe 2 to 3 max. And salmon, oily fish like mackerel, sardines, they're good sources. Have a porridge with walnuts. I always say walnuts look like a brain, right? They're like a mini, funky looking brain. That will remind you that they contain that kind of healthy fat, the fatty acids that you guys need. That's the stuff that supposedly will help. So stock up on your nuts, on your seeds, and try some blueberries and omega-3. I hope that helps, Samantha. Good luck.
So we have a question from Gemma Vernon. Gemma says, hey Rhi, what's your favourite recipe from Re-Nourish?
Hello Gemma, I hope you're well. My favourite recipe from Re-Nourish, it's really difficult to pick from, just gotta double check, from a sweet or a savoury, because I would automatically in my head say my apple crumble, but that's because it's been my recipe for years and I'm the biggest crumble fan in the world. But more recently, I've actually been making these parsnip and avocado chips. I really love the texture of making avocado fries. It's like something really crispy. I love the breadcrumbs on the outside. So this has been my recent favourite. That's a really tricky question because I have 70 plus recipes in this book. There's a lot to pick from. That was a good one. Very good one. So I think I've got just a minute left. 2 minutes, I think, to go.
Probably time for a couple more questions.
Okay.
So we've got one here from Sophie Bertrand, who
Yes.
says, hey Rhi, some gut health books say you should have at least 12 hours in between your last meal and breakfast. What do you think about this?
Okay, again, Sophie, you've probably heard of the recent trend in intermittent fasting, which is something I think is being spoken about a lot. Now, research on intermittent fasting currently has only been done on animals, and a lot of the studies are way too small. We need to be doing a lot more to suggest this. So I think that's what you mean when you've seen this in gut health books in order to help cell rejuvenation and that kind of stuff. I would say it depends on you. You may be somebody who naturally is adapted to eat breakfast the minute you wake up, or you may be suited to having it a little bit later in the day, because we are all completely and utterly unique. There is not one size that fits all at all. And I think we have to remember with these things like intermittent fasting, until there is enough evidence out there, it may not be advisable, especially if you suffer with anxiety or you've had a previous history of eating disorders. These are things to be very, very mindful of. But for some of you, it may work in your lifestyle. So once again, the verdict is out there on that one.
Okay, so I think we do one more question
and then
now.
I'm going to one question, and I'm going to check the oven.
Then we get the muffins out, and then we've got a couple more questions at the end, and then we'll pick a winner.
Great.
So last question for now is from Lydia Pito, who says, any tips on nutrition for teenagers with ADHD, or is it best to see a nutritionist in person for this one?
I'm really glad the seeing a nutritionist in person was brought up, because I think when there's an individual case, first of all, I don't know how old the child is with ADHD. Gender can decipher this just as much as overall lifestyle. How much activity is your child partaking in? Lots of regular exercise. I don't know what the diet's like, so I would highly advise seeing a nutritionist, because often I'm asked questions like this and I know that diet makes a huge difference. However, I can't offer bespoke advice because I need to know if there's anything in the family, maybe on your mum's side or your grandparents' sides, and things that run, and what you like and what you don't like. So my one little tip is maybe be very wary of a lot of sugar in the diet, but I can't offer anything more bespoke than that, I think, for that question. I'm just going to quickly check the muffins now. I need some oven gloves. Safety comes first, guys, in the kitchen. Always remember your oven gloves. I've done this before and managed to scald my hands. So they are looking like they need a few minutes more, actually, I would say, but they're looking good, definitely. So we can put those in. I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit so they cook a little bit faster there. So I would say we need about 2 or 3 more minutes in the oven there, guys.
That's okay, we've got plenty more questions.
I'm sure we do.
So.
I wonder which one is going to win. So remember, guys, that if you're dropping a question underneath, you might actually be able to win a copy of Re-Nourish and try these for yourself at home. And you can even win a Holland and Barrett hamper full of sleep goodies. Remember, sleep is... I love sleep. What more can I say?
So Dave Beresford's posted a question, and he says, hello, great show. What's your best snack meal for children?
Great show, thanks. I love this. We'll see how the muffins turn out, first of all. I think the best snack for children is to get creative. So you are probably up against other kids that are going to school with lunch boxes, potentially full of chocolate bars and crisps, and you want to be giving your child a healthy snack, but they're coming home saying, but the other kids get to eat that. So you're up against that, first of all, which is when we need to really think outside the box. I love making sandwiches with like a layer of apple as a ring. I'll make this for my nieces. I put peanut butter over the top, little bits of like dried like cranberries. It tastes so good. Then you put the other apple on top. That is a really nutritious and tasty, and it looks good snack. Or you can make these little kind of freeze-dried. If you freeze a banana with a tiny bit of dark chocolate around the edge, if it's something sweet they want, that's quite nice when you slice it up, depending how early in the day that you're going to have that. Or you can buy things like little baby bells. There's no harm in buying some cheese on the go. It's a good little snack. Oat cakes and hummus, again, finger food. I think kids love to get a little bit creative. So you could shove a little pot of hummus or guacamole or something in a lunchbox, and they can have that on the go as well. But there's so many things on the shop shelves now. I mean, my mind is exploding with how many options there are out there for you now. You can get these kind of dried fruit crisps that look amazing, and veggie crisps, so they don't feel they're missing out on the whole packet kind of thing. Or even a mini little sandwich is a good snack with whole grain bread. Lots of options for you. It's a very good question.
Sounds delish. So we have another question here from Krupa Sutha, who says, hiya, many people say that maple syrup and honey are good alternatives for sugar, but how much would you recommend?
Okay, so first of all, I always feel like such a party pooper when I have to say this, but sugar is sugar. So the only difference between, I'm going to get a little bit sciencey, but I'm going to try and break it down a little bit. So sucrose is sugar, and that's comprised of 50% glucose as a molecule and 50% fructose. It's the fruit fructose that you get in fruit sugars. Now, the only difference with honey or maple syrup is that it has maybe a little bit more glucose, which is good because your body loves glucose. It's like the first natural point of energy. So maybe about 60 to 70% glucose versus a smaller percentage of fructose, which means it's used by the body a little bit more. The benefits of honey, if you get the right type, would be that it might contain some antibacterial properties, especially Manuka honey, but you're looking at a rating of UMF 10 plus if you want to get some benefits. So I think it's just really, really important to bear that in mind, and everything in moderation. So if you're using honey, maybe just a tablespoon, like a small drizzle over a porridge bowl or something. But sugar is effectively sugar. I think I prefer honey to maple syrup, you know, guys. I think there is a difference there. I'm going to very quickly run to the oven. I feel like I'm just checking all the time. Yeah. I think my oven at home might be a little bit stronger than the one we've got here, so it's taking a little bit longer, but at home you should be checking it. If you're making this at home or you're going to go back, 15 minutes, usually on quite a strong 180 degree preheated oven, should be all you need. So we're nearly ready to go there. So I think I've got time for another question.
Okay, so I've got a question here from Andressa, who says, hi Rhiannon, what do you think about psyllium husk for cooking? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
It is psyllium husk. It's one of those, it's spelled with PSY. It's really difficult to kind of, so psyllium husk is a source of fiber. I actually would be very careful about adding too much of this because you need to have tons and tons of water to the ratio of husk itself. So if you're adding loads of that to your baking products, it's probably going to affect the ratio of how it's going to rise, or whatever you're cooking, affect the consistency even, but also in your digestive tract. So you just need a lot more water. To every molecule of carbohydrate, just to explain, you need about 3 or 4 of water, which is why you often may feel a little bit heavier or that bloating, puffy feeling after you eat a heavy carb meal. It's not that you're putting on any body fat, but the same thing goes for the amount of fiber. If you're up in the fiber in the meal, you need all that extra water. So I would actually be very careful about cooking with that. I haven't tried it, so I will let you know if I do.
We have another question here from Eve Elizabeth Carter, who says, is peanut butter as good for you as other nut butters?
Oh, the nut butter one. I was waiting for the peanut butter question to come in, because I think this country has gone crazy for nut butter, which I really like. But, okay, so first of all, there's not much in it. However, almonds obviously give you a different percentage of fat, very, very small margin in it, and more vitamin E than you get in the peanuts. But if you're looking at the protein percentage, it's around the same. I would stick with what you like, but be very careful that your nut butter doesn't have lots of added palm oil, and you're looking at maybe, hopefully, 99% nuts. Because believe it or not, if you don't check, there's probably loads of added sugar, added extra oil. You don't need that in your nut butter, guys. So be very careful and pick the one that you prefer the taste of, would be my ultimate thing. So I think I'm going to get brave and remove these from the oven anyway now, guys. I can keep answering some questions when we go for it. And remember at home, double check, because everyone's oven strength varies greatly. So we're going to remove these now. So you've got your egg muffins. I'm going to turn the oven off, I think. Here we go. Yummy, yummy. Let's get those out. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, you can see the cheese coming out as well. And I'm not sure if this is okay to put on this surface. So I'm just going to put it here to cool just for a second because it's a very hot plate there, guys. Now, when you've removed them from the oven, this is the best bit. So you get as creative as you like. If you want to add some extra cheese, it's going to melt on top. You can sprinkle some extra seeds, which I think I might do anyway because I'm all about the decorations on the muffins. And these will keep in your fridge as well. So once you've let them cool down, and you can add as much colour or flavour as you like. If you had any leftover seeds that you've roasted earlier, you can serve them with that. And even a dollop of yogurt with your Mexican muffins will work really nicely. Or alternatively, if you're having them in the evening, it could be a little starter before you have dinner instead of a bread basket, perhaps. I think they look really good. I'm really proud of those, guys. Do we have another question while they're just cooling and then I can show you all?
We do. I'm not sure we're going to be able to answer this one, but I'll ask it.
Right.
So we've got a question from Christine Bellingham. Which foods help with arthritis?
Yeah, I think we have to be very careful with specific conditions because arthritis is one of those that's still being heavily researched in terms of diet, but I do know that you want to be looking at an anti-inflammatory diet. So again, lots of colour, lots of variety, and I highly advise, my love, if you speak to a specialist. So ask your GP or your consultant for a referral to a dietitian that's trained to work with your specific condition because we've all got different specialisms and you want someone that's so highly trained to answer for you. That's what you need, so be very wary. Even asking someone like me, and I'm very qualified, but asking me a question, that would be my answer. Be very wary of people that would dish out advice just like that on the internet. I think we're going to check the muffins now. I'm really excited. It's the best bit of the day. You spend all that time cooking them, and you get to eat them. So I'm going to show you and bring them over here so you can see. They look so good. So you have 12 mini Mexican muffins. They look amazing. And remember, you can melt some extra cheese on top as well. Everything you need. They smell like cheese, which I just love. I can really, I could eat all of those right now. So I think if you have tried this at home, let us know how you get on. Let Holland and Barrett know. Let me know because I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And remember that we're going to go through all the questions that you guys have asked. And you can still be in a chance to win my book, Re-Nourish. Make these delicious muffins yourself at home. Oh my gosh, they look so good. And you can win a hamper, a full sleep hamper. I think that's all we've got time for today. Have we got a few more questions? Or are we?
A couple more questions.
Couple more questions.
Time for winner's announcement.
Oh, I'm so excited to pick the winner. Great.
So question one. So this
Okay.
question is from Grace Kent.
Yes.
And she says, are breakfast bars, e.g. Belvita, very bad for you?
I won't name names, Grace, but yes, they're not exactly ideal. Do you know, I made in the book a gingerbread breakfast biscuit deliberately because I love the idea of breakfast biscuits. They seem so logical, right? You're in a rush, you're on the go, you just want something you can put in your handbag. The problem is these biscuits are probably the equivalent of actually having a normal digestive biscuit anyway. They do contain a lot of extra sugar that you really don't need. So I would stick with making your overnight oats or your Mexican muffins, take them with you, forget the biscuits.
And then we've got one last question from Grace Arrowsmith. It's a macros-based question. So she says, how important are macros? Should you track them? I never seem to eat enough protein, as I've read you should have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
It's actually 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. So that would really change the amount that you're eating there. So if you're 60 kilos, you want at least maybe 60 grams of protein a day. Because, God, if it were pounds, you would be aspiring for a hell of a lot of protein there. That is a lot. My philosophy on nutrition is more about nutrients, not so much numbers. The problem with macro counting is that it doesn't take into account all the smaller micronutrients that you need in your diet. For instance, eggs. they fall into the category when you're macro counting of fat, whereas eggs are an amazing source of protein. And because you may be over your fat percentage one day, that may mean you can't have that extra egg, which will be giving you all that nutrition that day, let alone vegetables. So vegetables contain a lot of carbohydrate. They contain a lot. And if you are counting in a day, you will end up taking good things out, like fruit, like vegetables, because they contain a lot of natural carbs just to keep in your carb limit. So my advice on that would be, you're probably getting enough protein. You know, there's even protein in broccoli. Vegetables contain a small amount. The minimum the government recommend is 40 grams of protein for the average adult as a bare minimum to survive. So just kind of gauge it on having a little bit with each meal at lunch and dinner and your snacks, and you should be fine. Honestly, unless you're training for a fitness competition or something, and that's not sustainable for life, I really wouldn't recommend macro counting as a sustainable long-term thing. Might have a place, but not long-term.
Okay, so time for our winners announcement. So our favourite question is probably the one that's made us laugh the most, and it was the question from Jane Knowles, which was, is there a healthy food to combat snoring that really does make us laugh?
Jane, congratulations! Oh, I wish there was, and do you know what? I'm going to go away and do all the research I possibly can now, Jane, to make sure that I find the cure for snoring. I am going to be a Nobel Prize winner. Well done, Jane. Congratulations. You are going to win the hamper and a copy of the book. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Thank you for sharing today, for all your questions. It's got me thinking as well. It keeps me on my toes. And drop us a message at any time on the Holland and Barrett Facebook page. They have an Instagram, just as I do. And you can keep in touch with us all and have a lovely, what day is it today? Tuesday evening. Bye-bye, everyone.